Bro, it's taking a second. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? It is Keeping It Rio, and we're coming at you live. What is this saying? Error occurred. Wait a minute when we try again. I don't know what's going on. Hold up. Are we live? I don't know. This freaking thing's got me a little twisted. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like we're live. So no worries, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Keeping It Rio live. You can clearly see right there is the joy of being live. And the cool part is I had my privacy settings wrong, so they couldn't even see what was going on. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is Keeping It Rio live, and it is 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. It looks like it's super cold where my guest for today's program is coming from, which is real quick. I don't know if I should mute your mic for this intro or not. Maybe no, I'm gonna just play it safe. My guy right here is coming to you live from the absolute mecca of college football, ladies and gentlemen, the home of the #1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. And he's a very successful business owner who's lived there in Columbus, Ohio for many years. So that's the #1 most important detail. We'll cover the rest here shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome my good friend, my business partner with Rio Blanco, Mr. Jason Shumway, to his first ever podcast appearance. So what's going on, young man? How's everything going today?
It's going great, Chuck. Thanks for having me. Super excited. I came out of the woods to do my first ever podcast here, and kept the toboggan on, and ready to share the story and share the light on you and how excited we are to be moving forward with a lot of different things.
Heck yes, my friend. I'm super pumped up. And we'll kind of start with the toboggan because I got to give a shout out. You and I have known each other for many years through the same, common friends and associates. That says P&W Roofing Supply. We got to give love to our friends at P&W over there. I worked at P&W for the better part of 15 years on and off. So huge part of my career. I started my roofing career at P&W one day when I was just having a bad day at my drywall job, pulled in, and my friend Eric Donnell hired me in 1998. So all these years later, here we are. We're still representing P&W, even though it doesn't exist anymore. It will always exist in my heart. So tell us a little bit about your background. You've got the roofing business, obviously, there that associates with P&W, but what other kind of stuff do you have going on, Jason? You're a very diverse individual, and you've got a lot of different ventures. So tell the fans a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I'm a full-time dad. I have two beautiful young daughters, 11 and 13 years old, Grace and Nora, and they're have had some family dynamics and differences of late. So my focus is on my two daughters and making sure they have everything they need at this point. I've really refocused some of my business ventures and some of the need for financial gain, and put some of those on the back burner in light of making sure both of the girls have dad time. They haven't had as much of that over the last 10, 15 years because of my entrepreneurial spirit, but I've started to refocus and put family first, and I'm very happy to say that I'm a full-time father. So,
yep, and I think that's one of the best things about this whole opportunity for me is I get to work with a guy who has those type of values, and it's very nice to see because most guys get into this industry and they're obsessed with the work, and it's work first, family second. But I really appreciate that. I appreciate the journey that you've been on for the last little bit of your life because, it can get stressful. And like you said, things can change and just trying to make sure that you're there and you're present, and that, the things that change in life can be as easy as humanly possible for the ones there, that are your children and your family. So I love that. And that says a lot about who you are as a person. You mentioned your entrepreneurial spirit. We've been directly affiliated for, like I said, many, many years through the roofing industry. You've got a successful roofing business going on over in Columbus, but you've also got a lot of other things going. So tell us first about your roofing company over there, which I guess would be your primary business, and then we'll kind of venture off into some of the other things you've got going on in life that make you the diverse individual that I've already described you as.
Yeah, perfect. So yes, I am the sole owner of Bradford Exteriors Incorporated. Started that after a journey in manufacturing and distribution back in 2005, 2006. And just, but believe it or not, as a salesman in the on the wholesale side of things, was one day had a less than outstanding individual come in with a whole stack of cash that had potentially residue of different things on it. And I told myself, boy, oh boy, if this guy can do this, imagine if I had some drive and put my my expertise to use. And I gave my time shortly after that, and kind of took the plunge from a 6-figure plus job down to zero. That was something that I still say to this day. I'm grateful that I did at the time, because obviously doing that as a father and as a family man, that would probably be tougher, and not sure I would have made that same choice. So yeah, I opened Bradford Exteriors up and did the normal things that an entrepreneur does. Just clawed, knocked doors, opened up opportunities, tore out decks, did anything and everything, except for I had a limitation of knowing my limitations. So many people, when they take that plunge, they'll go out there and advertise themselves as a master of everything. I told everybody from the get-go, I really don't have the skill set to necessarily be doing your fine dining per se in the construction side of things, but I can go do grunt work. I have a drive, I have a focus, I have a tenacity to also find the people that can do that. And I think you and I were talking about maybe yesterday or the day before, Chuck. I still to this day don't call myself a roofer. I don't call myself a contractor. I'm an entrepreneur. I have put together a very successful team, and a lot of people have been with me for a lot of years. And you're truly nothing without your folks that are in the trenches with you. So I I speak very broken Spanish, and I haven't learned Spanish for one reason. And I tell my guys on the job site, I know enough Spanish to communicate and to be able to get them the materials they need. But other than that, I let all the crews know I don't know Spanish. So you guys speak freely. You guys talk in any manner you want. The boss doesn't poquito español. I know very little, and maybe that's kind of ass backwards, but I really wanted everybody to know that I respect them. I respect their feelings. I respect their communication styles. Bradford has kind of been up and down over the years. I rode the storm roller coaster. But at the end of the day, the success lies in I build a very successful retail business. I don't sit around and wait for hailstorms and windstorms and things of that nature. Still kind of old school, can go out there and diagram a roof on a piece of paper and give somebody an estimate, which is kind of, from what I'm hearing, a little bit of a dying art. So
it's a dying art, but it's still a thing of beauty. And it's something I'm super proud of as well. And, that mindset, I think, is really the coolest part about this partnership. Is I think you and I both have the similar appreciation. I mean, my history was I drove a conveyor truck at P&W for 12 years. I literally picked up bundles of shingles every day and I threw them on a conveyor belt and loaded them on roofs. And it gives you a huge appreciation of how physically demanding that side of the business is. we come back and I go down to Charlotte when P&W opened a branch down there, Capital City Roofing Supply. I got the opportunity to move down there and then kind of see things from that perspective. You know, I understand the distribution side because I started one from scratch with a guy and we built it up, and it did fairly well for a little while. And that gives you the appreciation on that side. And I think what I'm really saying about that is the more you can put yourself in everybody else's shoes and they understand that you understand them, the better your relationships are going to be. And the more you're going to get people that are going to want to stay loyal to you, that aren't going to want to cut corners if you're not standing there watching them. And, you know, when you say, hey, y'all can speak Spanish in front of me, I trust that you're going to say I'm a nice guy. And, you know, in all likelihood, they probably say you're a pretty nice guy because you are. But I think that that mutual respect is something that really is crucial for, you know, both sides to understand, hey, we're in this together and we're going to fight this together. And if something goes wrong, we're a team. You know, I'm not going to throw my guys under the bus. And, you know, having that type of respect for your crews is, that's why I wanted to work with you, man. I'll be honest. I had a couple different opportunities presented to me with this Rio Blanco, and yours was the one that appealed the most, obviously, because here we are. But it's that mindset. It's understanding that we're not the boss. We're not the guy. I've never called myself a roofer either. I always tell people the joke that if I'm up on the roof during install day, we're pretty screwed because like something has gone terribly wrong, right? And I think people can appreciate that because we are what we are, and we find people that specialize in those things, and we put those people together, and magic happens, right?
Yeah, my sales associates don't even like me involved in the process period anymore nowadays because they know they know shit hit the fan if I'm involved. So and it doesn't happen much, but obviously, you know, as we bill ourselves, we are in the construction industry, and I do feel like that some of the best projects and some of my best customers are customers where there was issues. When there's issues in any industry, you get to show your resolve. You get to show your you know your net worth, or not your net worth, but your worth, as far as being able to kind of pivot and being able to make your word good. And us as men, and not saying, you know, that in a sexist way, but, you know, your word as a human being is all you have. And, you know, shaking somebody's hand, looking them in the eyes, you know, being firm with your position is something that I take to heart.
Yep. And I certainly appreciate that. We got some comments. We've got viewers today. That's Michael Dixon, who I believe is also in Columbus, the mecca of college football, if we didn't mention that earlier. And we appreciate that. But yeah, it's the whole, you know, mindset of we're going to build something special. It's going to be awesome. And people that feel like they're a part of something special rather than just being, you know, one of the people that you're using along the way, it changes the way that things, you know, are perceived by the people in general, not just in our industry, but, you know, the people that want to work with you. They see this and they say, hey man, that guy's pretty cool. He doesn't feel like he's above anybody. We had a phone call conversation the other day where you were driving 227, I think, sheets of OSB to a job site. And, you know, that's the kind of guy you are. That's the kind of guy I am. I want to be hands-on to a certain degree, but I also want to be the guy where they say, we got this, you know, you can trust that we're going to do it. So
yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. You know, I have a customer base here that sometimes wants something done quickly, and yeah, I had to drive two shy of 250 OSB to the job site because we had one day to get 100 squares done, and unfortunately ended up being mostly a redeck. So I had 20 some guys on the job site, and man, the pictures are great. The marketing pictures are really good because everybody's just scurrying, and it was a good day yesterday. So, but you know, and Chuck, you know, one of the most important things to me is over the last handful of years, The roofing and the construction side of things has really pivoted from um, kind of an in-person, and I think COVID did this to us a lot as well. The in-person, the dog and pony show in front of, husband and wife, it's really pivoted. And your partnership and now mine with Roofer is allowing us to do things more remote. And that right there is one of the things that excites me the most, because that allows me more time to do things, um, eh, you know, be with my children, and then some of the things that I have as a passion. You can see this trophy right behind me right now. I signify that in more than one thing. I like to think of myself as a champion. And if you don't wake up in the morning and think of yourselves as a champion, and think of yourselves in a positive light, and think of yourself as you're a winner, you might as well go back to bed, because you've already been defeated. You've already lost. So the one of the good things that the construction industry has afforded me is my passion right here is horse racing. Um, at one point in time, I owned 50 horses, all racing, all lines, and had a blast. It was a little too much, when I start to get involved too much with that, and not have my focuses where they need to be. But this trophy was actually from last month. One of my 3-year-old fillies went to Virginia and won the Sire Stakes championship over there, and very, very excited, very proud. My daughters got to get in on it and braid the horse before he left out of the barn to head to Virginia, and it's really a fun pastime for me.
So let me ask you this. I've always wondered, how did you get into the horse racing? What was the bug that bit you? Was there someone in particular that got you involved? And because I know you've been in it for many, many years, and
Yes.
I've always been interested, but I've never really asked. So how did
Yeah.
you get into it?
So it was an expensive lesson at the beginning, but so my window installer, Kevin Johnson was his name, or is his name. Kevin was a window installer and part-time horse trainer. And Kevin was training 3 other race horses for actually another contractor at the time. And that other contractor, yeah, basically ghosted him. And as many of you know about horses, they don't stop eating, they don't stop doing, and as a racehorse, they are athletes as well. So there's a lot of maintenance and upkeep and things of that nature. So Kevin came to me and said, "Hey, I have 3 racehorses. I can't afford them. You can have them." So he actually gave me the racehorses. He took a small piece of them, but gave me the racehorses. And that's how I got into the racing industry. Now, those 3 racehorses couldn't have beat a, they were awful, but it was my entry into the industry, and the rest has been history for, I don't know, nearly 15 years now. So had a lot of I've had a tremendous amount of memories and tremendous amount of success. I always, if somebody gets into the racing industry to try to make money, I tell them they need to find something else, because they say the first way to make a millionaire out of being a horse owner is start with $1 billion. So.
Absolutely. It's a passion project, and that's really it, because, if you're doing it to make money, you're probably going to be disappointed. And, that applies to auto racing as well. I've had a lot of friends that get into auto racing, and it's the same thing. I do want to say something, Jason. This is cool because we are live, and I haven't done a live episode in a long time, but something that's one of the benefits of doing a live episode is we've got viewers who are participating as we're talking. And I've actually got a question here that I'd like to get your input on, if it's cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is our guy, Michael. He's over there. He's already established he's an Ohio State Buckeye fan. But I think this is a great question, and I think you and I both can come with some good insights. How, as owners, do we not consume our entire lives into the business? with all the moving parts and the things to keep track of, how do you guys settle away from work? And I think we're starting to cover a little bit of that now, but let's dive into that question. How do you make it to where, Bradford Exteriors and you're racing, and you've got other ventures as well, and you've got all kinds of different things going on in your life, and it's constantly moving and evolving. How do you disconnect from that? How do you keep your sanity? It's something I dealt with really, really heavily earlier this year myself, as I literally took burnout, and I got to the point where I didn't want to do anything anymore. And I recognize that now, and I recognized and took the steps to avoid it again. But what about you? You've got more going on than I do, and I got burned out. So how do you prevent that from happening in your life?
Well, I will say that, almost 20 years ago, and probably for a good 10 years, I had the gas pedal down as absolutely as fast and furious as I could go. I went to Minneapolis and ran storms in 2008. And then came right back home to Columbus when Hurricane Ike hit and ran hard. So I've succumbed to the pressure of that many, many, many times over the years. 120-hour weeks. Everybody said, I've always said I was going to retire at 40. Well, unfortunately, 40 has come and went, but 50 has not. So my goals are still. I am done. I am going to hang up my hat and walk away 100% at 50 years old. So how do you achieve that? One of the things you do is you keep on the grind. But you're going to find I'm super ADHD as well. So I'm going to end up all across the board here. But to kind of come back to, the exact question, you have to sit down at some point and say, okay, what's my priorities? Is my priorities going out and chasing another $2, $3, $4, $5, $10,000 roof? Or is my priorities today to get right with my children, to get right with, whomever is a higher power to you, to get right with my office staff that I might have pissed off yesterday? So your daily flow has to always come back to your goals that you set for yourself, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, because you're not going to do right every single day. You're not going to do right every single week. But if you have core values and you have set those, and I think one of the things I see from you as well, Chuck, is your values and your goals you put out there somewhat publicly. And I tend to pull back and not be necessarily as public, but I've heard from a lot of people, you throw your goals out there and you put them publicly, and then you have a kind of a band of brothers or a band of people to support you in those goals that you have. That your support system, to really come back and hammer down, the biggest thing is your support system. If it's your family, if it's your children, if it's your staff, if it's none of the above, then I'm sorry, you might need to reevaluate what you have going on.
Absolutely. And for me, it's accountability. Being accountable to yourself is the most important thing. And I will give you some props right here, because my man, he's loving your answer. So we definitely appreciate that, Mike. And for me, it was kind of a similar thing. And basically, this Rio Blanco in itself is a whole, we could do a whole entire episode on this company and its history and me and all the stuff that's gone on with it. But basically, I moved down to San Antonio in early 2019, and I had never been to San Antonio other than for a half a day when they had the IRE here back like a decade ago. So I spent a half day in San Antonio 5-6 years earlier, and that was my decision-making variable. This is going to do it because that day was cool. So of course I can do this, right? We come down here, and I started off pretty well. We had some early success. Things were going well, but with me, I got into a bad habit of, I just started eating, and I got kind of a little bit lazy. And before you know it, I got like super fat, right? And I'm looking at myself in the mirror one day and it's like, damn, dude, whatever. I don't like this. But I kept going. I kept getting fatter. I didn't like it, but I just, I accepted it. And we ended up having a conference in East Texas back in, I guess it was 2020, 3 years ago. And it was the first time ever that I got to be a speaker for a event of any sort. I was like an advertised speaker. And with that, you get those promo cards with your face on it. And dude, you'll never find one of those anywhere around me because I was so disgusted and distraught by the way that my face looked. And I didn't realize that I actually looked like that in public until that day it hit me. And from that day forward, it was like, oh my gosh, I became like really kind of down. I started doing my physical fitness. I started just going for a walk every single night. I started losing weight, feeling a little bit better. And then a bunch of stuff started happening in life that, just life things happen, the things in life that you don't wish to happen that are going to happen at some point. They all started kind of happening at once for me. And that physical fitness, it was the one thing that kept me from losing my marbles, quite frankly. And I make sure now that I carve out time daily for my physical fitness. I like to go for a walk in the park. When we talked earlier this morning, I was on my laps over at the park, just getting some fresh air, kind of putting myself back into a centered position because this will drive you crazy if you let it, I'm like you. I have ADHD. I'm all over the place. But one thing about me is I believe 100% in myself and I believe in my mission. And for me, sometimes when it's not going exactly how I think it should be or how I know it could, I get frustrated. And so that's something I'm still working on. And I think partnering up with you, it's going to help me because we do have a similar viewpoint on life. And, you know, that's going to be something that's going to help me transform in the future and really grow as a person. But, the truth of the matter is, business is business, man. We get these phone calls at 10 o'clock at night from distraught customers. And, sometimes you answer them because you feel like that's the right thing to do. Other times you just say, hey, look, it'll be there tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
and being able
Yeah.
to disconnect is the important
Yeah,
aspect to your sanity.
and to kind of expand upon that as well, Chuck. If it's not raining and I'm getting a 911 call,
Right.
sorry, I'm not taking it. If it's raining and I know that there's a potential issue, if there's obviously ceilings falling, mold, this and that. I haven't had a lot of issues over the last 20 years, but it's construction and there's been issues, and you've sometimes just got to step up to the plate. But if it's not leaking, it can wait till in the morning because it's one person's problem doesn't need to be necessarily 10 people's problem. It can stay one person's problem and be handled at an appropriate time. So it kind of is what it is. But the other thing I wanted to hit on, and I think I got some interesting comments when you posted this before, and I said this, but I have never been to San Antonio. I've never set foot in that town, and now I'm a business owner in that town. But I will tell you, I'm only a business owner in the sense of I invest in people. I still have the old school mentality in I invest in the individuals, not necessarily the mission or not necessarily the business. When you didn't even really pitch me on this. You just kind of told me that there was an opportunity, and I told you to go open it. So, I mean, realistically, I've heard a lot about you, and I know a lot about you, and I don't even think we can both recall necessarily the times where we were in presence one-on-one when you were in the Columbus market. But at the same point in time, your reputation stands for itself, and I wanted to get in on the coattails of the reputation and the professionalism and the honor of Chuck Allen. So I appreciate you allowing me to be along in this journey, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. And dude, you've got a perfect sense of timing because I look at this and it's like I want the episode to be about an hour. We just did our first 30 minutes and we haven't talked about the partnership yet. And my plan for the episode was for the second 30 to talk about Rio Blanco and our vision and the whole story. So here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second half of this episode, which now is the culmination of all the first part. And we have decided that we're going to partner up and we're going to reopen Rio Blanco Roofing and Restoration here in San Antonio. Most of the people watching understand my history with the company. I came down here in 2019. We grew the company. It got really big really quickly. And maybe that wasn't quite the best opportunity or the best idea. And I spread myself super thin. I got burned out. We decided as partners, myself and my previous partners, to kind of separate from it a little while. But it was always in my heart and always in my mind because there is a special feeling, to Rio Blanco. I moved here. I didn't know a single person. I rebuilt this brand from scratch and it's kind of got my name all over it. So the fact was that was something that was important to me. And the truth is we could have started Chuck's Roofing or we could have, done an extension of Bradford Exteriors or whatever. But the fact that you were willing to buy into the fact that that meant something to me and that that was important to me was really one of the best things because not everybody felt that way, but most people did say, dude, that's your baby and you've built it. But I appreciate the fact that you were willing to go that route with me because there is the history there. And I can go back and now say, hey, maybe it didn't end quite the way I'd hoped the first time, but now we've got the opportunity to right that ship and take it straight to wherever we're going. And that means a lot. So thank you for that. Let's talk just briefly about how this all came about, because I don't even know if you're quite aware of how this all came about for me, but I'd say this was probably about maybe a month or so ago that you and I had a phone conversation. I was in Oklahoma City and I was actually doing a consultation with Mike Code for 777 Roofing, my friend Larry Andrews and his team over there. And I'm in the Oklahoma City airport getting ready to fly back to San Antonio and my phone rings. And it's Jason Shumway. And I'll be honest, I was a little surprised because you and I don't talk all that often. We've had a few conversations here or there, but it was one of those, hey, man, I'm going to answer the phone, see what this guy's got going on because it's been a while. And you were right because I didn't pitch anything. We just kind of went into a conversation about life, where we both kind of find ourselves in this specific time in history and the mindset that we've both got. And I think both of us were kind of looking for something that would be fun and kind of give us our spark back. And just in that moment, that was kind of mentioned, hey, Rio Blanco became available a few weeks ago. I've been down in Florida. I'm thinking that I want to find a way to make this happen. And you gave me the offer. Hey, let's do it. And to be honest, my decision was made right then on that spot. I didn't think about any of the other opportunities, which there were quite a few, and they were all very flattering. But I think us being in the same place, basically same place, mentally, both kind of just looking for something that's not going to give us a ton of stress. It's not going to be a pain in the ass. I think it's a perfect match. So we do that. And the deal went through last week. We became co-owners here of Rio Blanco. I want to ask you here on Keeping It Rio, because I've kind of given my ideas as far as what the company should look like and what it's going to be. You've said that you're also, a main retail guy over in Columbus. Different markets. Texas is a hail-prone state. There's a lot of different things. Let me ask you this here. What is your vision for your business concept here in San Antonio? How can I make your vision come true down here with Rio? And what does that look like in your mind when you decided to buy into Rio Blanco? Obviously you're buying into Chuck, which I appreciate, but there's a company involved as well, and you've got to think logically. What about that was appealing, and what about that when you looked at it made you think, okay, this is the direction I want to go in it, and I'm willing to invest my time, money, and energy into it?
Absolutely, Chuck. You know, Columbus has been my home for nearly 20 years. I'm originally from, Michigan. Go Blue. Had to put that plug in there for you. So
I got a cuss word beeper. I'll beep that out when it. Oh, we're live. Damn it, it's live. You got me. Oh.
I
The
got
replay will be edited, so no
I
worries.
gotcha. So, but no, Columbus has been my home for the last 20 years. Um, my daughters, like I said, in the first half are, 11, 13, soon to be 12 and 14 years old. And I'm really looking, down the road here. Where do I want to be? And having a toboggan on and having this jacket on and shivering in the mornings because it's 26 degrees is not my long-term plan. I do have some other options in the state of Florida, and I have some, I've got that grit and grind, so I've got options wherever, because I always say if you've got grind right now, you can go and do and be anything you want. But you and Rio Blanco were the choice for one reason and one reason only. Okay. My daughters and I went to Texas and went to Galveston Island, Texas, in during COVID, and stayed in an RV. That's what I did during COVID. I did probably 8,000 miles in an RV, and we just had a blast. Me and the girls did. And they've always said, "Dad, let's go back to Texas." And when you kind of threw it out there was a business available in Texas, I said to myself, you know what? Florida is great, 4, 5, 6 at the most months a year. Where else would I potentially find myself in a number of years? And Texas is very appealing to me. I love the Caribbean, and it just positions myself well for the travel side of things I want. Now, you asked me a specific question. My ADD kicked in, and I went to the left instead of to the right. So I'll go back. It
makes for a great podcast. I love it.
So as far as you and I talked about aligning yourselves, sometimes it's tough to align yourselves with realtors. But if you can get a network of realtors that knows and understands and values your net worth, they are very, 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 very viable. They're a viable source of leads. They're a viable source of referrals. Not only the realtors, but you can, if you can get in with a few insurance agents. I had a Colorado location for approximately 10 years. And I shut that down. It was too far away. It was my leadership team there wanted to go elsewhere. So I shut it down. But when I was in the Colorado market, towards the beginning of our stint there, we were getting thousands of inspections from State Farm. I know everybody has their opinions on State Farm. I do as well, but I can't 100% knock them because they made me a lot of money over the years. So, just having a very level the playing field. I almost just went there, but a level base of referral source, and then just grinding. Just the daily grind, the daily shake more hands than you can remember. That's what I tell my sales staff. Shake more hands than you can remember. If you can remember every single person's hand you shook throughout the day, you didn't do enough.
That's the truth. And the reality is it's the one that you don't remember that usually remembers you the most and is the one that comes back to you later on because of that. So that's a terrific principle to live by for sure. So any sales reps that are watching, this man just gave you $1 million advice.
And the best thing as well is diversification as well, Chuck. And I want to see that for Rio Blanco as well. I'm diverse in the real estate market as well. I've got many rental properties. I have commercial properties, things of that nature. But in my rental properties right now, my painter lives in one. My stucco guy lives in another. So do I paint? No, but I have a referral source. He paints for Bradford Exteriors. He paints for himself. But when I need him, he's there. I sell stucco and stone directly through Bradford Exteriors. I never touch it. It's a price, put a percentage on it, my sales guys put a percentage on it, put tax and things on for themselves. And those are super viable income sources that I can count on. If you go to Columbus, Ohio, and you go to the Better Business Bureau right now and you look up stucco contractors, Bradford Exteriors is going to pop up, which is crazy because I don't do stucco, but I have somebody that does stucco for me.
I think that's crucial. That's absolutely crucial to have that network. And that was the next thing I wanted to kind of discuss with you is our vision for what Rio Blanco is going to be this time around. Previously, I had a very big office over here in San Antonio. We had a huge warehouse and I had a showroom and I had a huge sales office. The reality is we had a showroom that no homeowner ever stepped foot in the entire time. I think in the 5 years or 4.5 years we were there, I had maybe 2 people that were not my own guys come in, and
I had to scramble. Sorry to cut you off, but I had to scramble yesterday to tidy my office because I had a customer come into the office yesterday. I looked him straight in his eyes and I go, sorry if it's messy. He was like, no worries. I said, I haven't had somebody in this office since before COVID.
You're right. And it's changed the way that business is done. It's a lot more virtual now. There's a lot more opportunities to do the online docu-signs and all that stuff. And I think it's something that it's really cool because I have that kind of vision in my head as well. With you at Bradford, it's been something that we've discussed. You've kind of been an old school type of mentality as it goes. The one thing that really got me up front was you were like, I'm a manila folder and pad and paper kind of guy. And I respect that. But another thing that I truthfully really, really, really appreciate and admire is your willingness to look into other things. You're not just stuck in that deal. And it's funny because, there's a huge amount of value in that old school mindset. If we go out to a job and roofer can't give you a measurement because there's a tree above it, there's like 95% of the competition is eliminated, right? Yeah. But then at the same time, if roofer can give you a measurement before you get there, you can be prepared before you even get to the house. You can have your presentation set. You can one call close. And I think your willingness to look into different ways of doing business is something that's very impressive to me. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you've had a company, Bradford, over in Columbus that was very, you scaled it up to a very respectable size. And your recent decision has been to scale it back down to something that's more your speed at this point in life. So let's talk about how that looks. Moving upward, you get hit with a big storm or whatever. How were you able to keep that going with that old school process? And then, moving downward, what does it look like from you taking it from a larger scale down to a smaller scale? Obviously, the need for more people is going to be diminished. So how does that look in your vision as far as what technology is doing for us?
Absolutely, Chuck. The sweet spot in the industry is 1.8 to 2.2 million dollars. And that's my opinion. We all have one. But I have bounced around to many different levels, 6-figure levels, 7-figure levels, and it's 8-figure levels. And I can honestly say at this point, at $2.2 million, an owner or a figure in the business and 1 or 2 sales guys can go out there and really wreak havoc and do a good job, be able to be manageable, to be able to not have loose ends that you go to sleep at night worrying about, did this get done? Did that get done? Because a lot of times those are the things that'll drive you to burnout, Chuck. Going to bed at the end of the night and having loose ends or having things that you're quote unquote worried about, those are the things that just kind of fray your core. They get you to wake up in the morning kind of second guessing how you went to bed. Did I get it all done? Did I not get it all done? What do I have to add to the plate today? Where is today going to take me? And you know, the biggest thing that I want to see from Rio Blanco is I want to see a quality product that I look at and I say I'm proud of. And the minute I were to come down there, or the minute I were to hear anything that would be contrary to that claim right there, I'm out. I'm done. It's you know, integrity and you know, class and hard work and dedication are things that just unfortunately are going by the wayside in our society. And I refuse to fall to that to that level.
Yep.
My biggest thing, my mentors in this business, you know, God rest their souls, Dick and Carol Baker. They own Dick Baker Roofing here in Columbus, Ohio, which is closed now. And you know, Dick passed away many years ago. Carol passed away, I think, last year or earlier this year. And that family took me under their wing when I was a sales rep at Allied Building Products in Columbus. And I tell you what, they had me in front. I many of times I was at a meeting with Dick, and I was the youngest in the room by 50 years. And it was just, you know, I think you said the other day, Chuck, you had somebody on your podcast that I think is technically a competitor of yours in the market, and he told you, or I watched an episode where you stole a deal from him or something, but you guys are cool about it. Like, there's no competition. I have no competition in Columbus, Ohio. I am my biggest competitor. I am my only competition, because at the end of the day, if I can't go out there and close that deal, or I can't give the knowledge to one of my associates to go out and close that deal, it's on me. It's not on somebody that stole the deal from me. It's not on them for not doing it properly. It's on me for not laying the groundworks and giving them the foundation to be able to close that deal.
Yep. And it's accountability. You're holding yourself accountable. One of the biggest factors in this whole opportunity with me was, very simply put, the fact that I feel like my partnership with you holds me the most accountable. I have to settle with, you know, I'm going to deal with all this stuff over here. I'm going to build this. And you said, hey, man, I'm going to give you the keys. You're going to run with it. And I'm on your team, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. And I look at that now and I say, hey, bro, if it doesn't work out, there's really no other possible excuse you could ever come up with at this stage. And when my back's up against the wall and I get that pressure, that's when I feel like I really excel. And, you know, that was really the main deciding factor in the entire thing for me, was like, this is going to be my show, and I'm going to be the guy who gets to be the face of it. And I get to do the decision making, and I get to do all that stuff. With that comes great responsibility, and also comes great accolades if it works. But if something doesn't go right, you know, that's one of those get the hell out of the industry type deals. And I'm not ready for that. So I hold myself hugely accountable. I know we're going to be absolutely successful because we've got a similar mindset. I'm going to focus my attention on quality. I'm going to focus on working with the right people. One of the biggest issues I've had in the past has not been here at Rio Blanco, because we straightened it out, but hunting for work, going and taking on anybody that you can possibly find because you need to make a paycheck and you need to get some money in. And a lot of times those cheap deals are the ones that really end up screwing you over and making your experience horrible. So I'm going to work with quality people. We're working on building a network. You've got resources all over the country, like you said. So I see no reason why this isn't going to be hugely successful. And I'm beyond excited for this opportunity. And, you know, I thank you, because you took a huge chance on me, and that means the world. You know, I've got a guy who believed that much in me. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that you look like the smartest guy in the world every day when you look at yourself in the mirror. And, you know, there's a lot of great responsibility with that, but here we are. It's going to happen, folks. So let me just kind of say one quick thing. If you're watching this and you do want to be a part of our organization, our team, it's going to be extremely limited because just like Jason, I am going to make sure that I keep it super tight. I'm going to make sure that I bring in people that want to be there, that are going to be a part of something special. But if you're watching this and you're in our industry and you're not happy with where you are, you want to work with a couple guys who are professionals that have, goodness gracious, I think combined about 350 years of experience in the industry. We are here to do what's right, and we're here to take care of people.
These bags prove it right here, buddy. I tell you,
absolutely.
This is not. I just woke out of bed and got stoned. This is. I was busting my ass yesterday, and I'm tired.
I got up at 4 o'clock this morning and started lifting bundles. They're teardrop stains, is what they are. But that's what I'm looking to do. I want to get with people that are similar to us in mindset, that are personal development driven, that are not afraid to go out in the trenches and go find the jobs, right? My biggest issue has been lead babies, and that's what I've always been kind of dealing with. And I don't want those anymore. I want people that are driven, that are motivated. There's going to be a select few that get into our deal, and it's going to be worth all the effort you put in. So
Chuck, I said this the other day on a public forum, okay? And I said any professional salesperson, and you know, there is people that need the rah-rah, but at the end of the day, when you've been in this industry, there's one thing and one thing only that you're looking for out of it most of the time. And I am closing the box in, I know a lot, but the rah-rahs, the parties, the sales incentives, the this and that, the this and that, I'm done with all that. My people that work for me, they get all 100% of everything up front. Meaning, I got to clarify that because I know that's a runaway train.
I was going to say, there's a bunch of sales reps looking for jobs right now that want all their pay up front.
No. Meaning in that, there's not a Christmas bonus. There's not a company picnic. There's not a, hey, let's get together and I'm going to buy a bunch of booze and everybody's going to get effed up and act like assholes. No. Okay. You take that extra $500 or $1,000 I'm going to spend on booze to entertain X, Y, and Z. You're going to get those kind of commissions up front, meaning I get right to the extreme. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I get right to basically where I need to be to still run a successful business. And then I give you those funds. And you can throw your own damn party. If you want to invite me, invite me. You can take your own wife. I'm not going to send you on trips. You can take your wife and kids or your kids or your girlfriend. You can take them on vacation. You can take your own money and buy your own houses and do your own things. Because I hire professionals. I hire companies. I'm done necessarily taking calculated risks. I am investing in people, and that's all I'm doing anymore these days. I just had a good conversation with my dear friend and my neighbor of the last couple of years. He's a farmer. Okay, he's in his mid-50s, grinding, loves what he does. I've started to, help him a little bit and realize, holy shit, farming is a lot of work. There is a lot of work, long hours, not a lot of money, and you're grinding for everybody else to eat your shit. And it's like, wow. So I went to him the other day and he bought a farm and he was like, yeah, this is the worst ground in the whole entire county, but I've been farming it for 15 years, so I felt like I had to buy it. I said, okay, but do you understand that ground is some of the best ground in the county and some of the most visible ground in the county to put storage units on?
Mm-hmm.
I said, so here's what we need to do. And I'm putting a business plan together actually this afternoon on a storage unit facility right off of 33 by Honda, which if you know the area, Marysville, it's booming. It's crazy. We will have road frontage on 33 with an exit within 0.2 of a mile right there to get off and come to the storage facility. Boat and RV storage. So I'm getting off track and I understand, but basically what I'm trying to say is the catalyst for all of this, and there's no substitute for it, is hard work and dedication.
That's it. And it's really that simple. It's such a simple concept that 99% of the people on the earth never figure it out. And being consistent, showing up every day, being 1% better than we were yesterday, it's going to get you so far in life. I love that you just said that about storage units. I'm going to end our episode by pitching my own business partner. If you need anybody to do the maintenance on those roofs of the storage units, I know a guy. I am all about those. And that's something I want to look at down here as well. I want to get into that market heavily, is maintenance on self-storage units, because there's a huge opportunity there. So we are definitely on the same page. I did not know anything of your venture, but plenty of opportunities for success for both of us moving forward. And I definitely want to end this episode the way that I always do. Obviously, we're partners at Rio Blanco. So anything in Texas, we want you guys to give us a call here at Rio. We want you to call Jason if you know anything about Texas roofing and you need it done. My people down in Columbus, of course, I was born and raised. I got my boy Brutus right here. He says hello. If anybody watching, obviously most of them are going to be roofers. And I think Michael is a roofing company owner in Columbus. And a lot of my friends are. But if anybody in Columbus is looking for a roof and they want to work with Jason and they want to work with Bradford Exteriors, which I will now clearly say is the best roofing contractor in Columbus, Ohio, how they go about getting a hold of you, my man?
Absolutely. You can find us on the web, bradfordexteriors.com, or give us a call, 614-483-6215. Look us up on Facebook or whatever other mediums there is out there. But I will tell you, we're not meant for everybody. I'm very selective in who my customers are anymore these days. So it's definitely not a race to the bottom with me. It's a race to the top of integrity, and we do that with utmost pleasure.
Absolutely, we do. And again, this man is a Buckeye fan in spite of what he said earlier. So if you're in Columbus, if you're considering
go
this
blue,
guy,
baby, go blue.
To me, that's the craziest thing, that a man can stand on live stream here and say "Go Blue" from Columbus and still get customers. That just speaks for the quality of the man and the product. You know, I'll tell you a real quick story before we end this. Okay. 7-8 years ago, I'm in College Station, Texas. I worked for a company over there and I was in sales. And I get into this really nice gated neighborhood. There's a whole story behind how I end up talking to this gentleman. I basically got thrown out of his neighbor's house, and his neighbor told me I'd never roof another house in the neighborhood because he was the most powerful person. So I went next door and knocked on the guy's door, and I ended up doing the roof of his neighbor. But in my process, I come to find out, okay, this guy, we get along really well. We've got a great rapport. I go into his house. We sign the deal. Everything's great. He says, hey, I need you to come look at something in the garage. There was a piece of sheetrock that needed some work or whatever. We flipped the light on, and Jason, I'm liking to throw up, right? Maize and blue everywhere, right? And I'm like, what in the world? I said, sir, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work out. I think, you've got the biggest roof in the neighborhood, but I just don't know. Your core values don't line up with mine. And we start laughing. And he says, well, I worked at the Michigan. I was in the athletic department under Lloyd Carr. And I said, okay, well, not a huge fan of Lloyd Carr, but that's cool. And I ended up giving him that line. I said, well, you can thank me, because he ended up going to work at Texas A&M and he was in their athletic department there. And I said, well, you can thank me and you can thank Ohio State, because if it weren't for Ohio State, you'd still be stuck in Michigan and you wouldn't be here in Texas. And this guy just laughed and he thought that was the funniest thing. And we did the roof. Everything was cool. For many years after the fact, I would get emails just randomly from this guy on game day, or, hey, I just wanted to let you know I was up in my attic and everything's working. You're pretty good, ... for a Buckeye. So one of my favorite clients ever actually worked in the Michigan athletic department. My business partner is allegedly a Michigan fan. I still don't quite believe this, but you know, it is what it is. We'll get him over to the good side here before it's all said and done. And as always, I want to thank everybody. This was a live episode. I enjoy doing the live ones so much. Not a whole lot of people watching currently, but we've had 7 or 8 at any given time that were watching us. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everyone that's going to watch it later. And thank you thank you absolutely the most to you, Jason, for being here. I appreciate you. And until next time, y'all, keep on keeping it Rio.